In Formula One, there's a fine line between victory and defeat. A good team strategy can make the difference. The final round in Brazil last year proved how tight the battle can be, with Lewis Hamilton winning in the last corner of the last lap. With competition now as fierce as ever, teams will do all they can to ensure nothing is left to chance.
One thing you're never short of in Formula One is information. We've got the means to generate all sorts of data, and it's a question of how we boil that down into simple decisions about what we're going to do. We build models of the cars, of each individual driver, and we put them on the circuit, and we have a race, a virtual race. If you do it in that manner once, you'll get a very inaccurate result. If you do it 6 million times, average the output, then you hopefully get something which is better than you and I can guess. That's the theory.
We start a long time before we get to the event. We have a reasonably long meeting that reviews last year's race, so weighs in safety car risk, tyre performance, weather, all those sort of factors. So we come here with a rough idea where we think we're going to stop, and also where we think everybody else is going to stop and what they're going to do.
The one-stop strategy, 16 seconds away from the
So last night I would have been presenting all of the simulations that I'd run all of the weekend, saying how other cars could beat our car and how our car could try and beat other cars, and then basically just trying to get some discussions, so just trying to beat some ideas off the engineers and coming up with what we think are the strategy for both cars, and then we're going to qualifying hopefully in Q3 and with a good strategy on the front row.
How you go through qualifying, what fuel load you're going to run in the final qualifying session really dictates when you're going to stop in the race. There's always a temptation to feel good on Saturday. There's always a temptation to go light in Q3. I think you've got to have confidence in what you're doing and decide, am I here to try and grandstand on a Saturday, or am I here trying to put ourselves in a winning position? We give him a package, and his job is to go out there and exploit it to 100% of its performance envelope.
Lewis Hamilton on pole position. It's a 1-2 for McLaren.
During the race, I'm upstairs. We've also got the other strategists in Woking. There'll be 3 of them back there doing the other cars and actually looking at fuel flow timings and monitoring gaps between cars to make sure we're not going to come out into traffic.
They try and anticipate the what if. What if there's a safety car? What if it starts to rain? What if you have a puncture? And those sorts of questions. So that hopefully, when we need the help on the pit wall, they're there to give us that advice.
A light on the gantry, they're out, and away goes Hamilton and Giovanni.
During the race itself, of course, the real world never pans out like the theoretical world, and then we have to respond tactically.
Hamilton stops, and Barrichello's through into the lead.
Those tyres are coming out really late. The tyres are not ready, they're still in their blankets.
Ultimately, when it all happens in a race, you sometimes have a window which is 5 or 10 seconds where you've got to make a decision, and you've got to make that decision because if you don't, the car whistles past the entry to the pit lane and it all goes horribly wrong. I think we invested in this area probably before the other teams, and inevitably I think we had an advantage. Progressively, whatever you do in Formula One, if it proves to be successful, it spreads and it becomes less of a differentiating approach, and you've got to look for new ones.
I know other people who've worked in strategy for other teams, so it's always good to sort of get one over on them, and I'm sure they enjoy the same when they do it to us as well. When you're on pole in Q3 with a healthy fuel load, when the fuel loads come out, it's definitely quite rewarding.
And they made it on